Well, good day, folks. How's everybody doing today? Welcome back to Munchkin Land. We are in Munchkin Land. So, this is a show about The Secret by Byron Price. It's a program where I look through the book and try to figure out what the authors, artists, and creators were up to back in 1982. And today we're talking about the Jack B. Nimbus, the Jupiter Pluvius, otherwise known as the god of rainstorms. So we're talking about the god of rainstorms, the Jack the Nimbus, and this is on page 150 and 151 in The Secret. And the mentioned here is the Munchkins. Well, we must be in Munchkin Land. Follow the yellow brick road. Follow the yellow brick road. Follow the yellow brick road. Yep, that's where we will find the Munchkin. A Munchkin is a native of the fictional Munchkin country in the Oz books of the American author L. Frank Baum. Well, a few people in the chase or looking for these casts have been able to figure out what a Munchkin is, because some of them mention L. Frank Baum and try to figure out what that means. But I would rather say that in the back of the book, they're introducing you to the Munchkins, and the Munchkins are in the wonderful Wizard of Oz, where they welcome Dorothy Gale to the city of Oz, needing to follow. And here's a story of a lady, Dorothy, a little girl with a dog. Well, I'm starting to like Balto even more since we've got that. So it's this is a book. It's about Dorothy. It's about going to Oz and the Wicked Witch of the East, and then meeting the Woodman. They're going to the Emerald City, and so that's pretty much what we're talking about. Is I think the Munchkin Land and the Wizard of Oz. I would hope that this isn't just about dwarfism and finding a dwarf somewhere in some place. And so Leo Singer is the guy. Leo Singer, or Leopold von Singer, was an Austrian-born American manager of the entertainment troupe called Singer's Midgets. So here we have a Leo the Lion reference, and we also have a lion in The Wizard of Oz. We have an image with a lion in it. But anyway, most of the Munchkins for the movie came from a Leo Singer's company. So that gets you the information about The Wizard of Oz. Most of us know what the movie is. So Lyman Frank Baum was an American author best known for The Wizard of Oz. He wrote 14 novels in the Oz series, plus 41 other novels, 83 short stories, 200 poems. He was born and raised in upstate New York. I wish they'd give us some more information about where exactly that is. He was but he moved west after an unsuccessful stint as a theater producer and playwright. His wife opened a store in South Dakota. So we know he ended up in South Dakota, but not exactly where. He edited and published a newspaper there. Then he moved to Chicago. Well, here we go. The Windy City, the Weatherman, the Weathermen. We're talking about the Weathermen. And so you've got the South Dakota. Remember, we had the Sylph and the Trog that couldn't figure out whether it was North or South Dakota, or maybe it was just they're trying to figure out the North end or the South end. Okay, so he was actually born in Chittenden, New York, Methodist family, Cynthia Ann Stanton and Benjamin Ward Baum. His father succeeded in many businesses, including barrel making, oil drilling. Okay, barrel maker, oil driller. Roselawn was located in Martydale, New York. Frank was a sickly, dreamy child, tutored at home with his siblings. He went to Peekskill Military Academy. They think he might have had a psychogenic heart attack. Whatever that is. Anyway, so he got a printing press, and he went on to write these books. South Dakota years. Baum and his wife moved to Aberdeen, Dakota Territory, when he opened a store called Baum's Bazaar, and it bombed. Anyway, then he edited the Aberdeen Saturday Pioneer. I like the Saturday Pioneer because in the previous story, I thought it was about Saturday Night Live, or not Saturday Night Live, Saturday Night Fever. So I like any mention of Saturday. Anyway, it is unclear whether Baum meant to or a sire or not, especially since his mother-in-law, Matilda Jocelyn Gage. Oh, so he married a Gage girl. And this Matilda Jocelyn Gage was kind of a feminist at the time. She was into wanting women's suffrage rights, a campaign for the Native Americans, and abolition and free thought. So he married a free thinker. We had the werewolves earlier, and she was this Marilyn Jocelyn Gage was adopted into the Wolf Clan of the Mohawk Nation. And we had the Tupper werewolves earlier, and now we found another wolf nation, if you will. So I always like when we find something like that. So The Wizard of Oz is based upon his experiences in the drought-ridden South Dakota plains. And so he became one of the first populists, if you will. Baum's newspaper failed, obviously, and he and Maud and their other four sons moved to Humboldt Park section of Chicago. So back in Chicago, one of them was found in Chicago. He wrote Mother Goose in Prose, a collection of Mother Goose rhymes. Oh, that's kind of like just up the alley of Baum's. So then he published the Wonderful Wizard of Oz to much acclaim, of which the Munchkins are involved. And I think the original name for this book had to do with Kansas. I think that was the original title of the book. And so he wrote a number of others. He reportedly designed the chandeliers in the crown room of the Hotel de Coronado in San Diego. And so, oh yeah, that was a big thing. The Hotel del Coronado is a beachfront a hotel in the San Diego. It's a rare surviving example of a Victorian beach resort. So yeah, that's pretty interesting. And so there you have Baum, and I can't remember where it actually gave the original. So the wife of Frank Baum, she was at Cornell University, and I think that's where he courted Miss Gage. And as a sophomore, he proposed, and I think his mother-in-law probably pretty much ruled the roost with his new bride and all of that, because she seemed to always be around. The Dakota Territory is talked about here under the profile of his wife. Harry Neil Baum was born 1889, 3 months before his father's store was foreclosed upon. So the original name of the book was supposed to be From Kansas to Fairyland. So the original name of the book, The Wonderful Wizard of Oz, was From Kansas to Fairyland. So there's that little piece of information that's not readily available. So we talked about the Gages, The Wonderful Wizard of Oz, the Munchkins. So the Weather Underground, if we're talking about weather, is basically a subversive group that did some bombings back in the 60s and 70s. It was leader was Bill Ayers, and this was kind of sort of founded in around his activities in Chicago and also in Michigan at his university. His early activities included the Jesse James gang, and then Ayers headed to Detroit, where he stirred up some trouble there. And he'd been a roommate of Terry Robbins, who was another troublemaker during this time. And so, if you like I don't know, the Weatherman connection, you can get something out of David Ayers, or Bill Ayers, excuse me, and the Weathermen that were involved in this. So James Hallowell Phillips, James Orchard Hallowell Phillips, born George Orchard Hallowell, was an English Shakespearean scholar, antiquarian, and collector of English nursery rhymes and fairy tales. I brought him up because of the connection to the fairy tale aspect of this story. So I don't know if he has much real contribution to this or not, but since he was mentioned in the articles, names of books, I thought it was important that I at least say that, nursery rhymes, the Three Little Pigs, is kind of where he falls in. Nimbus. Nimbus means a luminous cloud or a halo surrounding a supernatural being or a saint. St. Louis. I don't know. Pompeii is mentioned in here, and we all know Pompeii is where the volcano erupted. I don't know if we're looking for a volcano or not, but since it's mentioned, I think that's why it's mentioned. Samuel Goldwyn. Samuel Goldwyn is the guy that recognized the possible great things that might be in producing a movie, The Wizard of Oz. And so he receives the production credit for the movie. He used the name Samuel Goldfish for a while. He's a Polish-born American film producer. He started his own studios in Hollywood. He worked for Paramount. In 1916, he partnered with Broadway producers Edgar and Archibald Sullivan and started Golden Pictures. And the Leo the Lion trademark, for which the company is remembered today. We all know the Leo the Lion trademark, obviously, from the studios. And, there was a lion in the Boston thing. Many people probably thought that particular image with the lion in it might have had to do with the Wizard of Oz and MGM and stuff like that, but it's really just a statue outside the old North Church. There's two of them there. And so he got started with some early films and largely responsible for bringing the movie to fruition for The Wizard of Oz. And so we need to look at the Wizard of Oz movie, and I guess I closed that tab, unfortunately. So I'm going to open it again. The Wizard of Oz, 1939 film. Okay, we all know, Judy Garland starred in this, and we can look up who Judy Garland was, and this is in the National Film Registry and all of that. The cast is pretty well known. But so Walt Disney's Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, and we've talked about Disney before a little bit, gave basically Metro Goldwyn Mayer the idea that they could do the same thing with this particular production. And so screenwriter Herman J. Mankiewicz, not Herman Park, delivered a 17-page draft of the Kansas scenes. So we've got Kansas scenes in here. I guess my biggest point on all of this is that The Wizard of Oz, Cowardly Lions, it's all about the secret. It's all about the secret. It's so many connections to it, and you just can't run fast enough to Kansas in order to get one of these. You look at the image figure on page 151, and the two windows, three windows, four windows. The four windows shown in the image all have the corner cut off, just like the state of Kansas is a square state with the corner cut off. So the back of the book is basically telling you, run as fast as you can to the Wizard of Oz. Get back, get into Kansas, see what you can find. Where would it be? I don't know. Kansas City, Missouri. I don't know. We have to figure out where. But this is just telling you that you need to go look for a cast in Kansas using the L. Frank Baum information in the back of the book for the Jack B. Nimbus on the Weatherman. All right. Okay, I'm going to move back. Okay, so the other potential thing from this is Florida. You know, you got Jack Frost down there in Florida. Jack Frost's main impact in Florida is on oranges. Maybe we're needing to look at the Orange County or maybe oranges themselves. Later, I'll introduce you to Anita Bryant. And Anita Bryant is somebody that you might want to know from this period because of her oranges. She had attractive oranges. She's an attractive lady with oranges. But Sir David Paradine Frost, David Frost, is actually a real person, by the way. Jack in Florida, it's Jack Frost. In California, it's David Frost. Well, David Frost is actually a real person. David Paradine Frost. He was basically a journalist and had a show in England that was called The Week That Was. But he made it to the Americas, the United States, in 1968, and he received a contract to be on television here. And he did the David Frost show on the U.S. on Group W, which was Westinghouse Corporation's television station. But David Frost is mentioned because we just came out of the Kennedy, or not Kennedy, but the discussion about Nixon. And the thing that really got Frost on the map is he was able to get these interviews with these famous people. For instance, in 1977, he got the Nixon interviews, which were 5 90-minute interviews with former President Richard Nixon. And they paid out pretty well, and he got paid for all of it, them showing him up on every network because it wasn't an exclusive. Frost interviewed heavyweight boxer Muhammad Ali in 1974, another get. And Ali was training in Deer Lake, Pennsylvania, and this was before the Rumble in the Jungle, where he was going to fight George Foreman. Just look that up. It's a famous fight that happened in Zaire between undefeated and undisputed heavyweight champion Foreman and Ali. And so he said, listen, David, when I meet this man, if you think the world was surprised when Nixon resigned, wait till I whip Foreman's behind. And we all know Muhammad Ali was famous for his quotes. So Bobby Fischer, which was a reclusive figure at times, was interviewed by David Frost. And following the Iranian Revolution, Frost was the last person to interview Mohammad Reza Pahlavi, which was the Shah of Iran. So in this story, we've got the Shah of Iran being interviewed by David Frost in a story about Munchkin Land and the Wizard of Oz. So I don't know how you overlay the Shah of Iran, but if you look at one of the images, there's a guy that's dressed in clothing that might be akin to that part of the world, and it's mentioning David Frost in the same article. Okay, I'm willing to go there. I'm willing to go there. So where does that put you? I'm not sure. So basically, he then, I think, kind of went back and did some more work in Europe. Westinghouse Broadcasting is the W. That that was a New York based endeavor. We talked about what a Nimbus was. So over here in the section where it's talking about a sleeping frost giant, dandruff of a sleeping frost giant, and I just couldn't help but think that might be the abominable snowman. The abominable snowman. It's of the Himalayas. Is a 1957 fantasy horror film. This is, anything that has to do with fantasy comics is right up the lines of old Byron. And so I'm pretty sure you might have heard of Dr. John Rawlinson. Peter Cushing played the part. And his wife, Helen, Maureen Connell, played that part. Our guests of Lama at a monastery in Rongbuk while on botanical expedition in the Himalayas. And a second group, Forrest Tucker, accompanied by a trapper, Ed Shelley. Well, anyway, I'm not going to read you the whole plot of this, but they basically are looking at a abominable snowman. And they try to, I guess, trap a Yeti. This is not the first of the mysterious and strange animals that are going to be trapped or trying to be caught, because later on in the book, we'll find that the authors wanted us to learn about King Kong. And one of the images in the book shows a bunch of planes circling the tower, the Empire State Building. And this is directly out of King Kong, the movie. In fact, it looks like a movie still from the promotional part. Dr. John Rawlinson is, I think, the important person here to solving a puzzle. The guy is quite an actor. Played a lot of different things. Made it to the United States. Had a. Well, I think he went to the Guildhall School of Music and Drama in London. But this guy is an accomplished. He went. Oh, by the way, the Connaught Theater in Worthington is where this guy studied. The Connaught Theater. Connaught Park, Montreal. He's the abdominal. He is the abdominal snowman that shows up. He's a big ball of snow that's sitting on the roof, like we see in this image. So in the image that you think is Montreal, there's that stair step, and if you turn this image on page 151 sideways, you get that same stair step feature. In a cold place, Canada. So, I think, there you go. St. Lawrence Seaway. Fleming. Once the scene was done, Fleming reported ashamed of himself, ordered a crew to punch him in the face. Garland, however, kissed him instead. Who's the Fleming in this movie? Oh, director Victor Fleming. Oh, I see. There's a guy in this movie who directed it by the name of Victor Fleming. Oh, I see. There were allegations that she was groped by Louis B. Mayer himself. Wow. So there's a lot packed into this Wizard of Oz, Victor Fleming, and how that could play into your solve in looking at Kansas. But I'm not going to tell you because I want to go pick that one up myself someday. But that about covers it. I got it narrowed down to a couple locations, and I appreciate you for joining in. Oh, yeah, Fay Ray. Yes, Fay Ray, Hong Kong. Oh, I'm hungry. I'm going to go to the Hong Kong buffet. Nope, the Hong Kong buffet is later. That's the Empress in San Francisco, right next to the statue in the Portsmouth Square area. So that's a whole different show. Talking about going to Hong Kong buffet out in California in San Francisco called the Empress, because I think the Empress is potentially linked into the Portsmouth Square area where you have the the Lewis Stevenson Monument out there. And I think if somebody would, there's been people digging in Portsmouth Square before. I'm not the first one to think it's there. But if you look at the image that people think is out that way, there's like a mouth and a port and Portsmouth Square. It kind of all makes sense. All right, Jeff, thanks for coming over and enjoying this show. Well, this is probably my last one for today. My voice is getting rocked. It's almost 5. And I put in a full day's work. So thanks for the thumbs up. I appreciate it. Have a good day.